Before the iPhone arrived in 2007, Apple released a device that could barely read a handwritten sentence. In 1993, computing was defined by heavy, beige plastic towers that never left the desk. Apple planned to cut those cords, attempting to fit the processing capabilities of a desktop into a machine small enough to slide into a pocket. Portable computing was the industry's primary obsession. The company that could successfully digitize mobile input would likely control the next decade of hardware. Their solution was the Apple Newton MessagePad 100. Instead of using a keyboard, Apple designed a system meant to capture thoughts through digital handwriting. While other manufacturers built miniature, cramped hardware keyboards, the Newton relied on a single stylus. Apple expected their brand reputation alone to establish a new market for what they called the personal digital assistant. However, the company marketed a vision that relied on a software bridge they hadn't actually finished building. The system used translation software named Rosetta. It was rushed to market, lacking the data needed to handle the variables of real-world handwriting. The intended experience was straightforward. A user writes a legible note directly onto the digital screen. Behind the glass, the software struggled to break those cursive loops into geometric notes, often failing to find a match in its letter database. The result was often a line of garbled text that had no connection to what the user had actually written. Trying to fix these errors often caused more mistranslations, making a simple task take far longer than using a pen and paper. This software failure meant that the high-end hardware was essentially unable to perform its primary function. Within months, the Newton shifted from a technological curiosity to a public joke. Tech reviewers criticized the device in print, frequently highlighting its most absurd translation errors. The failure reached pop culture, appearing in late-night monologues and even animated cartoons. General audiences who had never seen the actual device in person now knew it primarily as a failed Apple product. Sales dropped, and consumer interest in the entire PDA category suffered as trust in the brand quickly diminished. Once a new technology is established as a punchline, it becomes difficult to convince the general public to adopt it. This public mockery stayed with Apple's software engineers for years, influencing how the company tested new products. The memory of the Newton's failure became a cautionary tale within Apple's development labs for over a decade. That experience led to an internal requirement for near perfection in mobile text input. This caution directly shaped the development of Apple's next major mobile project in the mid-2000s. While the Newton was a commercial failure, it revealed the specific software barrier Apple had to solve before handheld computing could succeed. In 2007, Apple released the iPhone, a device that revisited many of the goals the Newton had missed. They removed the stylus entirely, requiring users to type on a virtual digital keyboard. The success of this input relied on a predictive algorithm. This visualization shows how invisible hitboxes expand around specific keys to anticipate a user's strike before it happens. The iPhone's eventual high adoption rate stands in contrast to the Newton's rapid disappearance from the market. The Newton failed because it tried to read the future before it could read handwriting.